Welcome to the Chapter 1 podcast, your inside look at the people powering Charlotte's business scene. Real entrepreneurs, real stories right here in the Queen City. Today, we're joined by Jeremiah Helmuth with Lining Works, and I'm really excited about this. Jeremiah's a good friend. Jeremiah, let's start at Chapter 1. How did you make your way here to Charlotte?
Yeah, it's good to be here. So it all started in South Dakota, far away.
Way too cold for me.
I grew up in South Dakota, never really loved the cold and the wind, played a lot of outdoor volleyball, which is not conducive to that climate. So I had a few siblings that moved to North Carolina 7 years ago.
Okay.
So when I looked for, we wanted to relocate somewhere warmer, somewhere with more volleyball, I was like, Charlotte made sense because this is where I had family. So That's kind of what drew us here versus Florida or Georgia or anywhere else. So.
And that's actually how we met. So Jeremiah and I, we play volleyball outside of our professional lives, but we'll eventually get to the professional side of things. So growing up in South Dakota, tell me about that. What was life like growing up there? What was life like before you moved here to Charlotte?
Yeah, so moved to South Dakota when I was 6. My dad had a construction business. We did general contracting, so we ended up doing everything from roofing to siding to concrete, all of the good stuff. Grew up working a lot as a young kid. We come from a big family, so we didn't...
Very big family.
Yeah, I'm number 11 of 12. So just really good work ethic. My dad took us to work when we were 6 years old. So I grew up on the job when I wasn't in school. I did do some school, not as much as most people.
That's actually a question I've never asked you. So wait, now I'm curious. And you're successful, so you can talk about this now. You don't have to be ashamed. Did you go to school?
Yeah, kind of. No, we homeschooled. So growing up, my parents grew up Amish, left the Amish when I was a kid. So I don't really remember being Amish, but our family culture was heavily influenced by it.
Okay.
So the general consensus when you're Amish is you go to 8th grade and then you're done. Like that's enough.
Really?
That's all you need. Right?
That's so interesting. I never knew that.
Yeah, growing up we homeschooled, did a BACA, had a great education up until about 8th grade. So I never went past 9th grade.
That's so interesting. Just went right into the workforce?
Yeah. So when I was 14 and I guess I would have been in 9th grade. I think I was 14 at the time. We had a cabinet shop at that time, and we were understaffed, and I knew how to work, so I didn't like school. So I was like, let me go work. Later on, the last 4 of us did have the option to go and finish high school and get a diploma, and 3 of my youngest siblings did, because we started, I don't know, getting more broadened at that point in time.
Sure.
But all of my older siblings just went to 8th or 9th grade and then we're done, started working. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And so from kind of starting off with a young work ethic, like you just explained, moving away from school into the workforce, was it always general contracting type stuff? Was it instantly just kind of doing work for your dad and his company?
Yeah, so until I was 16, we did roofing, general contracting. At that point in time, my oldest brothers started a cabinet shop.
Okay.
Because of, again, living in South Dakota, long winters, outside work wasn't great. The work season is so short. So they were like, hey, let's do something a little more long-term, something that we can grow. Started a high-end custom cabinet shop, and then I worked in the cabinet shop until I was 21. So from 16 to 21, I worked in high-end custom cabinets.
So when you moved here, so you moved here 7 years ago, you said?
No, my siblings did. I moved here 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yep.
And when you made that move, did you have an idea of this is what I want to go and do for work when I move?
No, that's a good point. When I moved here, I knew I wanted to start something myself. I didn't want to just go have a normal job.
Sure.
Mainly because of volleyball, honestly. I wanted to make a little bit more money and have more flexibility at the same time. And don't criticize that because every time I say that, people are like, no, it's more work running your own business. Well, that's debatable.
Well, how about you go and run a successful business? Maybe in the early stages it's stressful, but then once it gets going.
It's stressful and it is a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. But I do have more flexibility now than a lot of my friends do. So I have the ability to schedule myself kind of more, what I want to be doing outside of work hours. So Sorry, big rabbit trail. I just completely forgot where I was going.
That's okay. That's okay. Volleyball is a big thing for Jeremiah and I. It's
Yeah.
it's definitely our biggest hobby and passion.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I have the same response lots of time when people talk about me. They say, about your company, like you started, what's your favorite part? I'm like, honestly, it's the flexibility.
Yeah.
It's the ordering of your life to be able to say, I could do all the other things I
Yep.
want to do. And it's not that you're not working hard. It's just that now you can kind of control when you work
Exactly.
and how you work.
Exactly.
So you moved here. You knew you wanted to start something on your own, and was it just so specifically tell the people what it is that you do, because it's a pretty unique thing. It's when you first explained it to me, I didn't understand.
Yeah.
So what is Lining Works, and how does it operate?
Yeah, so the only way I even knew about it is because of a good friend in South Dakota that did it for years. So that's how I was introduced to the process, the fact that it exists, right? So when I moved here, I had an uncle in Winston-Salem that was an East Coast supply rep for a big company, and I was just chatting with him one day, and we were like, I was going to start maybe a roofing business, something that I was familiar with, knew how to do. And he was like, no, you need to get into this. Like, I don't have enough guys in this area. I don't know of anyone right here doing it. So he really pushed me to look into starting this, which I'm really thankful for, because that's kind of what started the ball rolling, started in my mind. Is like, hey, I kind of know something about this industry. I know I've seen my friend be successful in it in South Dakota, right? Super unpopulated. If he can do it out there, chances are I'll be okay here,
Yeah.
Within an hour of me, I have more people than the whole state of South Dakota. So that's kind of how the ball got started, and we just looked into it. I started this with my brother, so my brother is much smarter than I am. I'm a little more the face of the company, but have someone smarter than you in the background. That is the real key. So we started it together. He did a lot of the back end work and made the company what it is now, much more than I did, I would say.
Sure. So what is it that you guys actually like what is Lining Works? Like, you guys work with pipes in some kind of weird way?
Yep. So Lining Works is a trenchless pipe repair. Cured in place pipe is the technical term for it. So old sewer lines that are failing, storm drains, really any line that's failing underground, instead of the traditional digging it up, excavating it, and putting a new pipe in, we go inside of the old one, grind it out, flush it with a hydro jetter, clean that thing till it's back to the original size. And then we invert a soft felt liner that's impregnated with resin and pull a UV light through it that activates the resin, turning it into a hard pipe. So you go from a soft felt sock to a hard standalone pipe in the matter of, a few hours.
So for the people that all of that technical jargon is like way over their heads. So pretty much what you guys are doing is, rather than having to dig everything up, you'll insert something in one end that aligns the whole pipe, and then it effectively becomes the new pipe within the existing damaged pipe. And so that way, all of the cost of having to, if you're a big giant building, retirement home or something like that, instead of shutting everything down and tearing everything up, they can do that very seamlessly.
Exactly.
So is that kind of like, how do you get that message out, right? Because that's something that I personally don't know anything about, but how do you guys go about doing your marketing? How do you find your clients?
Yeah, so that is the tricky part, because most people do not know that it exists. My ideal client is actually not as much homeowners as it is small businesses and even contractors that do large-scale remodels. That's my ideal client, because they tend to be more familiar with the product itself, or that it exists. And honestly, we just really target trenchless or hard-to-dig searches, stuff like that, because a lot of people in the back of their mind, they're like, man, I think I saw something on Instagram or YouTube one time about something going into a pipe, and they'll search like, if I can't dig up my pipe, how do I fix it? That type of thing. That's where we come in. So a lot of maintenance guys are really great because often they're also connected to each other. So if one or two maintenance guys know about you, like working with you, they'll refer their friends. They usually cover, a bunch of buildings. They're not working on one building. So that's our ideal client, is maintenance guys, contractors that are doing remodels, plumbers. I'm not a plumber's competitor for the most part. Most plumbers don't do pipelining.
Okay.
So I like to get connected to plumbers and say, hey, I don't want to do the work that you do, and I'd love to do the work you can't do.
Right.
Like, let's work together here. So I've had a few plumbers that I have great relationships with and that we work together well on. We kind of refer each other.
Sure.
When I get a call that's like, well, this is more replacement, I'll refer him. So that works really well. Most plumbers are at least familiar to some level with that it exists. Even if they don't know anything about the process or haven't seen it before, they're like, well, I know about it. So my target is almost more to business to business more than homeowners, because most homeowners don't know it exists. So
this is a real thing that's happening in my neighborhood right now. I'm curious to ask you, and maybe this isn't aligned, but coming into my neighborhood, there's this big hill. You go down the hill and enters my neighborhood, whatever. On that hill, on the street, a crack formed, and then water started pouring out of it. This is like 3 days ago. So what I'm guessing is like there's a pipe that goes underneath and it burst. So you can tell it took them like a day and a half to actually shut the water down. But now it's like you can slowly see the concrete starting to sink in. Well, like, who would I even call? This is a legitimate question. I was sitting there watching water pour out of the street, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? Somebody had to have called somebody. How does, like, who would I get in contact? Who would I get you in contact with to try to fix that?
I would, to be honest, that sounds like a supply line.
Okay.
If water is pouring out, it's probably a supply line that's pressurized, basically creating a fountain, right?
Yeah.
I would have called the city.
Okay,
and
that's
then
what
let them deal with it, because it's more, if it's under the road, it's more than likely that's their problem. If this is happening in your yard, obviously go turn your water off and then get someone to come out. But I do get these calls, and they're not really in my wheelhouse. It's not what I do.
Is that not what you do?
Nope.
Okay.
I deal exclusively with drain, so sewer, storm, anything with drain line, I deal with. But supply line, it's just a different. It's a plumber's job, right?
Okay.
Involves excavation, replacing stuff. We really try to focus on pipelining and just stick with that.
But effectively, what they have to do is all the things that you're trying to avoid with the things that you're doing.
Exactly.
And all the money that you're saving the people you're working with. So what's one of the most disastrous situations that you've been in since you've owned? Like, have you stepped in any situations where it was like, oh shoot, something went terribly wrong, whether it was a mistake that you made or just like the situation was really tough to have to fix? What's kind of like the biggest problem you faced there?
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty of those. Top of my head. Same. The tricky thing with pipelining is everything you're doing is underground, so you don't have access to it other than through a camera or a machine that you have in the ground, right? So it is very stressful, and one of the stories that comes to mind right away is we were working in a big 7-story bank in Raleigh. They had just like redone the entire building. It's beautiful. You would never know it was an old building, but under the concrete slab, under the beautiful new marble, there was an old pipe that kept on backing up. So they got us in to line it, and I won't go into the details of why it was complicated, but we tried to do something that should have worked in theory, but didn't work in real life. So we worked all day, and at the end of the day, we couldn't get the liner in. We couldn't make the shot we thought we were going to be able to make. So, and we had one day. This bank had a holiday. This is the only day they can close. Oh, no. So we're out there working. You know, we worked about 12 hours, and at the end of the 12 hours, we didn't have anything in the ground. And we're like, ugh. And our only option really was to go into a small utility room, dig a hole, go dig down about 6 feet to access the pipe, and then make the shot from there. The line ran under the what do you call it? Ran right under their main foyer, under everything you don't want to dig up, and under a floor that you can't cut and repatch. It's not like, here's some tile, let's repatch it. So we ended up working about 23 hours that day. We dug the access hole, just worked all night, dug the access hole, finally got the liner in the ground, cured it. Everything turned out really well, but it was one of those days where you're just like, man, the project just never ends. Yeah, and if it goes wrong, if something happens halfway through the process and something fails, you didn't prep something right, it can be pretty stressful, because if that liner fails in there, the whole building was running on that line. So if we screwed something up overnight, and then they come in the next morning and their whole building effectively nothing drains, we would have had a big insurance claim.
So you obviously, like, you're pretty hands-on in doing a lot of this stuff, but it's not just like Jeremiah going out and doing, like, you have a team. How do you go about scaling something like this? Because that's I think a difficult thing for a lot of business owners to be like, okay, I have this idea, or I'm doing this thing with a partner. But now we need to start getting trusted people on
Yeah.
board and building a team around going and doing this. What does that team look like for you, and how did you go about building it?
Yeah, so really comes back to my brother and I kind of knowing everything about the business from start to finish. So it was essentially like having two of me, which was amazing. So while I kept doing sales and some of that stuff, Ralph kept training in people. So right now he's out on the job, for example, and he's training in our new foreman. So that's a 3-month to 6-month process, depending on how quickly he picks up and learns stuff. But he's effectively training in a foreman. All I really need is a foreman that really understands the process and how to do stuff. And yeah, where am I going with this?
Team building.
Can't remember. Team building. Yeah, Ralph's helped a lot more with the training. He's done more of the
Okay.
training than I have, to be honest.
Okay.
But that's because, yeah, like I said, having two of us was really helpful because it allowed me to keep doing stuff while people kept getting trained in. So having more than one person that knows what they're doing is extremely helpful.
So if you could talk to your younger self, like you when you were just kind of getting into this world, what are some tips, or maybe somebody that's watching that hasn't started something on their own, what are tips that you would give that person or your younger self for doing something on their own, for starting something?
Yeah, I would say start sooner. If I would
Yeah.
go back and talk to myself at 20, I would say start sooner. I just kind of kept cruising along, and I know I'm not old, but I always look back and I'm like, man, I could have done this 5 years earlier and been 5 years ahead. That's kind of what I think. And I've thought about this, like, yes, it's scary and stressful and all of that stuff, but just start sooner.
Yeah.
Like, don't wait till you're ready, because you're not going to be ready. I'm not ready. You never are. You just have to start it and learn and figure out as you go.
Yeah.
So that's what I would tell myself. Start younger.
So doing what you're doing now and kind of being at the place you're at now, what would you say is the thing that you love most about what you get to do, both as an entrepreneur, but also as lining pipes and what you guys do on the field?
Yeah, I absolutely love fixing people's headaches that they can't see around. So a lot of my clients, it looks extremely overwhelming to them. They're like, well, I can't dig it. The plumber told me it's going to be X amount, and we can't do it. So fixing someone's problem that looks really difficult and is really simple for me to see from my perspective, that's a lot of fun. I enjoy that a lot. Again, love the flexibility, be able to plan a trip and just say, hey, we're booked these days, right? We're not going to work because we're out of town. That's an awesome benefit to, running your own business. So
Great part about being an entrepreneur.
Yep.
So where can people find you? If somebody was watching this and they were like, man, like that I know somebody that could use those services, how can somebody get in contact with you?
Yep, everything. Social media, we're on Facebook, Instagram, as well as Google. So if you search Lining Works on any one of those platforms, we will show up.
Awesome, man.
Yep.
Well, Jeremiah, thank you so much for being on the show. This is Jeremiah Helmuth with Lining Works. And like always, I am Greg Prenz, and this is the Chapter 1 Podcast.